Welcome. Thanks so much for joining in. You're watching NDTV Profit and this is Ask Profit. This is the show that gets you answers to all of your stock-related questions. My name is Mathew and with me is Smriti, Chaudhary. We'll take you through the next half an hour or so of trade. Let's very quickly take a look at where the markets are. And in fact, you have the benchmark index that is trading with cuts of about 1/3% or thereabouts, or right now about 0.2%. And you have the mid-cap and the small-cap indices that are both trading in the green at this juncture. In fact, off the low point of the day. Let's also pull up very quickly the advanced decline ratio just to give you a sense. In fact, the mid-cap index trading, that's the mid-cap 100. I was talking about the mid-cap 150, but the small-cap index also up about 1/3% or so. Let's pull up the advanced decline ratio and talk about the breadth of the market. And it has been a bit of a chop and churn all of today. And in fact, it's understandable considering that we are ending what has been quite a considerable gaining period for the Indian equity markets. Right now, more or less even Stevens. Since the start of November, you've had gains of about 17% or 16.5% for the benchmark index. Let's very quickly introduce you to the guests today. We've got Rahul, Shah as well as Kunal, Rambhia joining in. Gentlemen, thank you so much for taking the time and a pleasure having you on the show. Smriti, let's talk about the focus of today, which is a couple of Tata Group companies, one of which at least has hit its all-time high today.
Right. Good morning, Alex, and good morning, viewers. Today in focus today are two Tata Group companies, Tata Coffee and Tata Consumer. Both the stock for both of the companies are up over 3%. Now, this comes on the back of the company announcing the date for the scheme of arrangement, which is 1st January. Just to give you an overview of what this arrangement is, in March 22, the company decided that the demerger, it will demerge the plantation business from the coffee business, that is Tata Coffee, and it will merge it into TCPL, Beverages and Food, which is a subsidiary of TCPL, that is Tata Consumer. Then it will also merge the residual businesses of Tata Coffee into TCPL. Just to see a swap ratio into this, in effect, three shares of every Tata Consumer, Tata Coffee will get 10 shares of TCPL. So that's the post-merger swap ratio. Based on that, the shares are on the rise today. Just to get an understanding of how this will play out, let's take a view from Kunal. Good morning, Kunal. What do you see in the shorter term for TCPL and Tata Coffee?
Very good morning to everyone. So if you look at the overall formation of TCPL, certainly the counter was in sideways consolidation for quite a long time. In fact, the entire year of 2022 and beginning the mid of 23, we saw the sideways consolidation, and the fresh breakout was seen on the chart at around 900 to 925. Today it's trading at around 1075. I think this is the beginning of a new rally from here. So if someone understands the pattern, it's going to be a cup and handle formation on the chart, and the target for this can be as high as 1250 to 1275 on TCPL right now.
All right. Thanks for that view. Let's also go to Rahul. Rahul, any view on TCPL? It's incidentally crossed 1 lakh crore in market cap, another Tata Group company that has reached that milestone in trade today.
Good afternoon. So I think Tata Consumer, I think where the stock has done well, and I think if you look at it, the entire consumer pack has were muted in before this rally which came into it. So I think Tata Consumer we also like as a house, and I think predominantly if we look at it, Tata Consumer, I think the core 32% of this business still comes from the tea business and which dominated with it, and which they had at the last update with the management what we had. So they were very confident that they bring back their market share back into this tea market as a sector as a whole. And secondly, what we can understand also from the last meeting update, what we got it from Tata's was obviously on the focusing on their two important businesses back, which they want to gain the revenue share from there. One is obviously ready-to-eat businesses, which they got into it, and then Tata Sampann, which they want to make it more reachable to the dealer network. And secondly, they want to encash with this entire dealer network existing with a distributing channel through an online platform as well. So I think if we look at it in terms of it, what they have guided for 22% PAT guidance for 23 to 26. FY 2026. So I feel that the stock has done well, available at compared to other consumer companies. I think reasonably valued. So I think risk versus reward is quite favorable from this level. So I think still there could be another 10% upside from this levels in Tata Consumers.
Upside in Tata Consumer, that's Rahul's view. But let's start off with the questions. The first one is coming from Sridhar from Coimbatore. He's talking about Mazagon Dock. He's already bought 50 shares at 21.50 and he wants to know the exit level for this. He's a positional trader. The stock is currently around 22.88. So I'm going to come to you, Kunal, on this. What's the exit point for this stock?
If you look at the overall trend, certainly these all counters have been in trend since quite a long time, and the counter is clearly making higher top, higher bottom. In fact, if you look at the recent bottom formation on the chart, there was at around 1890 and now it's trading at again 2290. From short-term point of view, yeah, I think the present level might just act as a resistance because the same level was witnessed somewhere in September. That's around 2355. So consider that to be like a resistance for short period of time. If our viewer wants to take an exit from short-term point of view, I think this is the zone to watch out for. But by any chance, if the counter manages to cross this 2355, then I think 2450 to 2500 can also be seen. So from short-term, this is the level where you can take an exit. But on breakout, again, I think the rally might just continue.
All right. We've got a question coming in from Shiva, and he's looking at a 6 to 8 month view, which would count, I guess, as relatively short term. So I'll come back to you, Kunal, on this one. He's given me a list of stocks that he's considering taking a fresh entry in. I will read them out. You don't necessarily have to give me a view on all of them, but anything that sticks out to you. Exide, KCP, JSW Infra, Tata Steel, and Aarti Industries.
Certainly, Alex, out of this entire list, there are two counters which I like the most. The first is the Tata Steel. The only reason being a broader consolidation from October 2021 so far. We have seen the breakout coming this week, and that breakout was at around 137. The counter is trading at 139. I think today being the weekend, this breakout is getting confirmed. That's a volumized breakout, and the way we have seen metals counter performing, I think this can be a best counter. Keep the stop loss of around 125 and hold this position. I think this counter can show us the levels of as high as 155 to 160. And the second is Aarti Industries. Again, the counter which I like the most. The only reason being the specialty chemical is doing good, and this counter has bounced really well from the extreme lows of 450. I think there is more room for the upside. The targets for next 6 to 8 months can be 750 with the stop loss of around 580.
All right, let's take up the next one. This one's from Khurshid. He's written to us from Srinagar. He wants to invest 1 lakh rupees in Canara Bank shares. He's yet to buy these shares and he wants to know the future prospects of these. So I'm going to come to you, Rahul, on this one. How does Canara Bank look for the longer term?
So I think one should look into it, and we're very positive on the PSUs banks as a space. And I think Canara Bank is predominantly a very large bank in terms of it. And I think it is already one of the best performer in the large PSU banks performance. So I think stock trades at 110 book. And I think way the things have been in which we believe that I think the NPA cycle has peaked out. Asset qualities have improved, and I think the growth momentum which is there, and in the last 3-4 quarters, if we look at the numbers, have been pretty strong. So my sense is, I think the trading at very, very reasonable valuations, and I think last 5-6 years, if we look at it, I think have been a bag for entire PSU bank as a basket. And last year and a half post-COVID, I think they have come back very strongly. So my sense is, I think Canara Bank offers a very good opportunities for investment, for a longer-term investment. So I feel that on the price target of 550, I would advise him to buy Canara Bank.
The next question is coming in from Marut, and he's asking about restaurant brands, and he's seeking both a technical as well as a fundamental view. He's bought at levels of 111. And well, let me first go to you, Kunal, on the charts. What would you say are the key levels to watch on this one?
Alex, since IPO days, I think this counter has not really done much. And if you look at the overall formation, it's more like sideways to consolidation in the market, which is like, a trending market. I think one should avoid such counters for now. The support is on the chart at around 107 to 105 zone. If he's willing to hold on to it, then this can be the support to watch out for. But otherwise, I would avoid this counter for now. The only reason being there is no momentum itself on the counter.
Avoid. All right, but if you've taken an entry on the fundamentals, let me come to you on this one. Rahul, what do you make of this particular counter as part of the wider QSR space?
So I think entire QSR space have underperformed in last year and a half, and if we look at it, this is also one stock which has just underperformed. So my sense is if you have a long-term view for a couple of years from here, then I think the way the things have been, I think it's better. I think in terms of valuations, I think the stock trades in line with others and slightly, but with a market cap of a smaller market cap, I think there could be room for upside in this stock. So my sense is if you have a couple of years and as a part of allocation in your portfolio to the entire consumer basket, then I think one should look at it buying in this stock.
Right. Next up, we have Suryan Chagarwal. He's written to us on YouTube. He's talking about a couple of counters and he wants to know the exit points for these. So, Kunal, this one's for you. He wants to know the exit point for Coal India. He's bought it at 376, and the other one that he's talking about is HDFC. That he purchased at 1550. So, what exit points would you suggest for these two stocks?
Again, the Coal India rally was really stellar performance, and this, if you look at the recent rally from August, the counter was at around 230, and now it's trading at 375. So certainly the entry near the peak itself is a risky thing. So I would just advise him to hold the position for now with the stop loss of 365, and I think if the trend just continues, then we might see the levels of 390 to 395. But otherwise, it's a request to all our viewers, always buy when the counters are in kind of a bit of correction so as to get the favorable risk-reward ratio. The second is HDFC Bank. I'm extremely bullish. Even in today's performance, in today's market, it's doing really good. For now, you can hold on to the position above 1730. I think this counter has a potential to show the levels of around 1775 to 1780. So certainly bullish on HDFC Bank and cautious on Coal India for now.
All right. This next question is coming from Rajesh Maheshwari. He's writing in from Singapore, and he's asking about IEX. He's bought 450 shares at an average price of 238, and he's looking for the medium-term outlook. So the stock is currently trading much below his buy price, and I guess to a certain extent, Rahul, there are question marks about certain aspects of the business, right? Have you studied this one, and what would your recommendation be with regard to IEX? I think the questions revolved around the ability of the company to continue to have pricing power going forward if at all regulations change, right?
So we don't cover this stock, so I won't able to comment much on this stock as of now.
Fair point. All right. I will come to you again on maybe the power space and if you have any recommendations there. But for now, let me at least get a technical view, Kunal, from you on IEX. He's bought at levels of 238. What would the medium-term outlook be? Should he continue to stay invested?
See, Alex, we know this counter has not really not really participated in the rally itself, and it was in the broader sideways consolidation. But the panic which we saw on 9th June, where the counter gap down opened by 10%, there was a final bottom, and that bottom was extremely near 115-16 levels. And since then, this counter is showing good volume and making higher top, higher bottom formation. In fact, in today's trade also, it's up by around, I think, 4.5% kind of levels. I think this is heading for a new rally from the present level. So buy on dip is the strategy because our viewer has already bought the position. I think wait for the counter to reach back to around 160 levels and try to average out. I think this counter is ready for first target of around 200, and above that, I think the targets of 230 to 235 can also be seen over the longer period of time.
All right, got it. Next up, we have a question from Gigi John. He's written to us from on WhatsApp, and he's from Dubai. He's talking about the counter IDFC First Bank. Now, if we look at the stock performance of the bank, it's mediocre. It's given only like 11% returns in the last 6 months compared to how the banking pack has been performing. He wants to know whether he should continue holding this stock. So, Rahul, I'm going to come to you on this. What is it that's not working for IDFC First Bank, and what kind of trajectory do you see for the next 1 year or so?
I think if we look at that, entire private sector banks have been very selective where the markets have, where the stocks have moved up. The rest, if you look at it, being the large caps, things like HDFC and ICICI, HDFC and ICICI both have been लगाए, and including the Kotak Bank. So I think so this bank is also in sync. It has not done anything great in terms of it. Obviously, that merger remains a major hangover on the bank. So I think once it is merged from the entity, once it comes up, then I think the stock would start performing. That is what it looks like. Yes, I think if you are a long-term investor, then I think this bank one should have in their portfolio with their allocation to their portfolio. And I feel that I think once this merger is done, I think there will be tremendous growth potential for next couple of years for the IDFC Bank.
All right. Rahul, do stay with us. Kunal as well. We have to slip into a very quick break. Viewers will be back and we'll take more queries, so do stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Ask Profit. Markets continue to be in the red today and broader indices outperforming the benchmarks. But let's get back to the questions. The first one is from Patel, and he's talking about Jindal Worldwide. He's already bought shares and he's bought 149 shares at an average price of 300. The stock is currently trading at around 303 rupees. If you look at the 6 months performance, it's down about 3%. 3 to 4%. Kunal, I'm going to come to you on this. Should our viewer continue holding this stock? How does it look on the charts?
So if you look at the data from October 2022 so far, this counter has made the extreme bottoms of around 290 to 295, I think 3 to 4 times. And on the higher side, it generally takes the resistance at around 370. The entry level for our viewer is just amazing. It's just near to the support itself. So I would advise him to definitely hold this position, maintain the stop loss of 290. So by any chance the counter uses closing below 290, take an exit. Otherwise, with the target of 370, one can definitely buy a new position also onto this.
From Bangalore is asking about Suzlon, and he's asking whether it can be bought at the current juncture for the long term. Rahul, I'll come to you on this one. Hopefully you can tell us about this. Arguably one of the outperformers of the year. It didn't start out that way, but there's a lot of promise seemingly in the renewable energy space. What would you say about Suzlon specifically?
So I think if you look at this year has been the sector which has outperformed well is the power sector as a whole. And if we look at most of the stocks, large caps, small caps or mid cap, everyone has done quite well in that space. So I think predominantly if we start from the large names like Tata Power, which is up quite sharply, or if we talk about JSW Energy, NTPC and so on, and including the power finance and REC, which are the financing to these power companies. And also my sense is I think overall the Suzlon itself has done quite well in this entire year. So now I think the stock has moved ahead of its in terms of way the earnings and way ahead of the projects what they've been talking about. If you have a shorter view, then I think the stock might stay here for some time. But I think if you have a longer view, then I think this is long in the renewable energy space. I think the stock can still go higher from the current levels. So in near term, I think the valuation looks justified at this price and looks limited upside. But if you have a longer term view, then I think one should hold on to the stock.
All right. Next up, we have a question from Narendran. He has bought IREDA shares at the buy price of 56. The stock has has given significant gains in the last 1 month already. It's up about 70%. Because of the lack of data, I'm going to come to you, Rahul, on this one. How does this look for the longer term? Should people who have bought into this stock at an average price of around 60, 50, should they continue holding this for the longer term?
So I think this entire space, I think if you look at it, I think the power financing companies, I think has done quite well. So I think including IRD also, I think the stock has done quite well, and I think post listing also we've seen a fantastic and this thing. So my sense is if you are a longer term investor, I think one should hold on, or else I think in the short term, I think it looks like I think the stock is reasonably valued at this price. So I think maybe you have to look at for a couple of quarters and then take a call from it. But if you're an investor who's made money, then I would advise some profits on the stock at the current levels.
All right, take some money off the table with IREDA. It's up about 4.5% in trade today as well. Let's talk about Sanjeev Pathak's question, and he's asking about Heritage Foods, which he's bought at levels of 310. He hasn't really given us a time frame, so I will come to you, Kunal, on the charts. What are your recommendations? What levels to watch out for?
See, again, this counter has given a fresh breakout since September 2018. This counter wasn't able to cross 286 mark. There were more than 5 to 6 attempts to cross that level. Unfortunately, it was a failure. And what we saw just 3 to 4 days back was the counter was up by around 12%, and it has given a decisive breakout with volume. So it's certainly bullish on this. Hold on to the position. The stop loss has to be maintained at around 275. I think in a longer term period, we can see the levels of 375 to 380s also.
All right. Next up, we're talking about the counter Urja Global. This one's from Dixon. He's written to us from Kerala. He's already bought into the shares, and he wants to know the long-term prospects of the company. So how does Urja Global look, Rahul?
So again, we don't cover the stock, so I wouldn't be able to comment anything on this Urja Global.
All right. I'll take it across to Kunal. Kunal, how does it look on the charts? What kind of prospects do you see for the short to medium term?
I must point out that he's bought at really low levels, Kunal. He's bought at, I believe he started buying at 0.9. That's less than 1 rupee. And he's now holding at cost of 3.1 rupees. His quantity is as much as 10,000. Would you suggest that he gets the opportunity that he can book profit?
So, Alex, being very honest, I saw this chart for the first time itself. I have never seen this counter, but if you look at the trend, yes, certainly it's a bullish trend. If you look at the volume activities which we saw in November and December, the crazy volumes have been seen on the chart. So I think the only trouble on this counter which I can see on the chart is that either upper circuit or the lower circuit. So risk management is going to be a trouble if it enters the lower circuit. But for now, I think our viewer can certainly hold on to this position if the counter breaks below 12.85 levels. Then I think one needs to be worried. Otherwise, with that particular stop loss, he can hold on to the position. On the higher side, what I can see is resistance at around 19.95 to 20 levels. So till then, hold on to the position, revisit our channel again, and I think take a view again at that point in time. For time being, with the stop loss of 12.85, we can hold on to the position.
All right, thanks so much, Kunal, for that. And Rahul, thank you as well for taking all the questions that you did answer. And in fact, wish you both in advance a very, very happy new year from all of us here at NDTV Profit.
Same to you.
All right, and viewers, that brings us to the end of this edition of Ask Profit from my co-anchor and myself, and from the team that put this show together. Thank you so much for watching. Do stay tuned. Lots more coming up on NDTV Profit.